Hi guys, today I wanted to do a little video to address a common question I keep getting, especially in my ice fishing videos, and that is, what is this reel? This is an inline reel, specifically designed for ice fishing, and I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of inline reels versus your traditional small spinning reels. So this will just be a short video to kind of answer some of those questions about this reel, why I choose to fish with this reel more often when I'm ice fishing versus my little spinning reels. Okay, so I'm going to start with the spinning reel because that's what everybody's familiar with. This one here is a Fluger President, which is a pretty decent quality spinning reel. So one of the things with spinning reels is, you know, if you want to drop down to them, you either got to pull a line out or you open the bail and you kind of flutter or flick your wrist, and that will let line peel off. If you've got like a fluorocarbon on there or something like that, a really thin one, you can oftentimes just flip the bail and the line will just fall off on its own. So there's a couple different ways, but one of the key things I want you to notice is that with each technique, whether I'm opening the bail and just letting the line come out on its own, or I'm flicking my wrist like this, I'm getting slack in my line as it drops. So it's pretty common for me, especially when fishing for trout. They come up and they hit the lure on the drop and I miss it because I don't have any tension in my line. I got a ton of slack in the line and I miss that bite. All of a sudden I'll start to reel and I feel the fish and then it's gone. So that fish had the jig or lure in its mouth and I just missed it because of the slack. So that's one of the disadvantages of spinning reels. Now obviously spinning reels are great because you can use them in open water, you can cast with them. And they're a multi fishing season fishing reel. So I mean, I use them, these little tiny reels, for ultralight fishing all summer long, and I love them. Here's a fish up shallow. See if we can catch him. Get in here, buddy. He's looking at it. He just bit it. There we go. Got him. Oh, look at that, a crappie. That's cool. Nice. Got a little black crappie there. They have a really good ratio. So that is, for every time you turn the handle, the spool spins, several times, usually in the 5 to 7 range. So that lets you bring your gear up quickly, like I did with that crappie there. I saw him come on the screen, and I was able to quickly get over to him and catch that fish. There you go, nice little crappie. So one of the great advantages of spinning reels is that they're widely available. You can find them in virtually any tackle shop. The problem with that is that there's a ton of very inexpensive ones that are of poor quality, especially marketed towards ice fishermen. They'll sell, $8, $10 plastic spinning reels. And while they might hold up for a half a season or a half dozen times, I've seen too many of those things fail and break. So I really recommend, trying to spend above that $20 mark to get a decent quality one. The Fluger President, this is close to a $70 spinning reel. But that's because I use this reel a lot during the open water season and I wanted something reliable. I also like the Fluger Treon. It's a smaller white version of this reel. Very good quality, a few less bearings, but you don't need a ton of bearings for ice fishing. It usually retails in that $30 to $40 range. I have only come across one spinning reel in that sub $20 range that's small in size, that's really good for ice fishing, that seems to have pretty decent quality, and that is the Daiwa D-Spin. I'll put links to all those below. Here's a big spool of something. They're coming over to look at it. Whoa! Slammed it. Whatever that was. Might be a school of tiger trout. Had one come through earlier. Oh, this is a rainbow. Oh no, actually it is tiger. Another big tiger. Check that out. That's cool. I had one come through earlier off camera. And these guys are cool. I'm really stoked that they put them in this lake. There you go, tiger trout. Alright. Buddy, you're supposed to go down the hole, not swim out of it. Sorry, man. See if they're still there. You still there? They are gone. So I would say the Achilles heel of a spinning reel is it's in the bail system, especially when ice fishing. Because what happens is ice can build up on this bail, and when you if you have your bail open, you're dropping line, and you close the bail, sometimes the line will catch or freeze on that bail. But the worst spot is this thing right here, this little roller right at the end of the bail called the line roller. It has a habit of building up ice because as you're reeling up line, as it comes on the spool, it will build up there as the line comes through and gets fed onto the spool. And that can really cause problems. For one, it can make it hard for you to reel, and oftentimes, like if I'm fighting a fish, the line will freeze up and I can't bring the fish in anymore. Or even worse is I'll be jigging for a while and unknowingly that line will freeze up on that line roller, and then I hook a fish and I might only have like a 2-pound line. I have no drag system because it's just frozen and it snaps the line. So that's really the big weakness. Spinning reels do add a little bit of line memory too, because as this spins, it adds a little bit of coil to the line. It will cause your jig to spin. Some people say the fish don't like that. I haven't really noticed a big difference in my catch rates between the two different types when I'm fishing, but some people don't like that jig spin when they bring it up. They don't like that line memory. So let's switch up to the inline reel. And so with this reel, there's fish, got it. Another tiger. Nice. That's cool. Man, those guys are so aggressive. Lots of tigers. Come on, buddy. Narver. Okay, so let's talk about this inline reel. This is the 13 Fishing Black Betty Freefall. It's a little bit different than some of the inline reels that have been out for a long time. But inline reels, the line comes straight off, so there's the spool just rotates as you reel. You can see that. A little bit untraditional in terms of the drag system. It's kind of reminds me of like a bait caster. So you have a wheel here that you can use to adjust your drag. And then the line just comes straight off. Now, what this company did, 13 Fishing did, that nobody else was doing with inline reels, a lot of the inline reels had like push buttons to release the spool, and then you would click the handle to re-engage the spool in the drag system. They eliminated that and added a trigger. And what's cool about this is when you click on the trigger, the line just spools off. And then you release and it stops. So, and then, here I'll show you. Release, stop. It stops spinning. Release. And you can adjust the speed at which the jig falls right here with your drop speed. There's a little dial right there. So this is really cool because I can look at a fish on the sonar, and if I'm jigging above them, I just click that button, I drop down to him. As soon as I hit him, I release, and my drag system's automatically engaged, and I always have tension on the line. So I can see the bite. I can detect the bite better. And as soon as I see that bite, I release this, and it's automatically engages the drag. Something here. Oh, here comes the fish. It's coming. Got him. Oh, I lost him. Dang it. That's a bummer. Oop. Something bit it. Drop. Come on. Gosh. There's a bite. Come on, Tyler. Get him. There we go. Got him. Now, one of the disadvantages of inline reels is they're not available everywhere, so you kind of have to shop around for them, especially online, or unless you have a specialty ice fishing tackle shop nearby. It's another tiger, rather dull one. But they do tend to run a little bit more expensive, especially the ones with the free fall trigger feature. I believe Clam came out with one that has the same feature after 13 did, but get this little guy back, he's pretty. But this Black Betty Freefall retails for above $100. They have a cheaper, more plastic version that is called the Ghost, that I believe retails for closer to like $60, $70. And I think Clams is in that $80 to $90 range. But if you don't want that trigger free fall feature, which I think is really cool, and you just want an inline reel where you push a button and then you have to click the handle to engage the drag system and the spool, you can find the Eagle Claw ones and Fluger ones for that $20 to $30 range, and people love those reels. They say they perform very, very well. Now, I got my line wet and brought it up, and it's still falling off, but you see all of a sudden it stopped right there. That's because these reels, like any other reel, like your spinning reel, if the line freezes on the spool, the free fall feature doesn't really work, because it'll just bind up on there. So, you know, I open this, and it's still going, but every once in a while it'll catch. It's still going. But, you know, if you're in a really extreme cold environment, and you get your line wet, especially with braid, it'll freeze on the spool and that won't spool off quite as well. But because it's coming straight off the spool, there's no bail or line spool for it to get caught up on, and that is one of the huge advantages. You just don't have to deal with line issues with inline reels nearly as much. Here comes fish. There we go, got him. That's another tiger. Now, bringing these fish up oftentimes takes a little bit longer with my inline reel. Popped off. These tigers are really chrome. Sometimes they have vivid patterns, but not these ones. Bringing them up is a little bit slower, or bringing up your gear, and that's because the gear ratio on these is 1:1. So every turn, you're only getting one rotation on the handle. You get one rotation on the spool. So it does take a little bit longer. Now, I found the drag systems to be really good on these. I have not played around with some of the cheaper inline reels. So I imagine that the cheaper that you go, the less superior the drag systems can be. But overall, when you're paying more for higher quality inline reels, you're paying for higher end features like the trigger feature. You're probably paying for better drag system, more metal components, and probably more bearings. But still a really cool thing to add to your ice fishing tackle kit. Obviously, they have pretty limited applicability on open water. I mean, I suppose you could use them from a boat for jigging. But I really do enjoy using my inline reels when I am out on the ice. I'll put links to my favorite inline reels and some of the budget ones, and then this Black Betty Freefall and some other recommendations below. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. Or if you have suggestions on what your favorite inline reel is or favorite ice fishing spinning reel is, just let me know. Alright guys, I'll see you next time out on the ice. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye guys.